Welcome to the Xmark channel. Today guys, we're going to talk about improving belt life, getting better performance, and also avoiding some costly mistakes with your CVT clutch system on your RZR 1000. Stay tuned, coming up all on the Xmark channel. Alright, welcome back guys. So today I wanted to talk to you about a few things that I've learned as a RZR 1000 owner that I wanted to get across to you guys that I think is crucial, is kind of like the essential elements that you need when you're looking to improve reliability of the clutch system on your RZR. So what I've done today is put a bunch of tools here, a bunch of products and things that I believe that you guys need to do right out of the box as soon as you get your RZR. Or if you haven't done it yet, you need to do these items. Not trying to sell anyone anything, but these are items I've done on my RZR. I know they work. And they've improved, they're known to improve performance or improve reliability. So what I'm going to do is I'll bring you guys in closer. We'll get a bird's eye view of what I have on the table here, and we'll talk a little bit about what's going on. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back guys. So one of the first things I want to show you guys is going to be with belts. Now, the number one belt I'll always recommend is always the factory belt. This is a factory Polaris RZR 1000 belt, part number 321180. So this is a brand new spare belt that I always keep with my RZR, and it's the belt that I recommend. I don't recommend aftermarket belts. Now, with that being said, probably the only belt that I would recommend, and this is based off feedback, is the Hunterworks belt. He has both a regular belt and a thick belt, and that is known by what people are telling me, and I believe taught, is actually a superior belt to the OEM belt. So if you're looking at belts, definitely go ahead and look at Hunterworks belts or stay with the Polaris belt. Any other brand, I really haven't seen any testing, and it's sort of hearsay, but those are about the only two I'll really recommend. Now, the next upgrade that we're going to look at, these are the square pucks that come in any 16 and up RZR. The problem with these square pucks, outside rollers or outside pucks on your secondary, is they end up actually wearing your secondary out. Now, I caught my RZR at about 300 miles when I did these upgraded rollers. These are from Hunterworks as well, over Todd there over at Hunterworks. And I swapped these. He has a video on how to swap these over. I didn't notice any wear at 300 miles, so I guess I got away lucky. Some people are already starting to see wear. The other day, I think on RZR Canada I actually saw where it actually had wore right into the secondary. And once that happens, guys, get rid of the secondary. It's done. You got to buy a new one. Super crucial that you get these. They come in a kit in 4 at Hunterworks. They also come with the pins to hold them in place. Very easy swap to do this. Just take your time. Not too many specialty tools really required except to maybe hold down the helix on the back side here as you undo your bolts. Todd walks you through that though. He has a lot of good videos on his site. Check out Hunterworks on YouTube. He's got a whole clutching series of videos. But for me today is I wanted to talk to you guys about what I've done to make my clutch reliable on my RZR. Now, the next one, this is a Mountain Tech Performance blowhole. This is a CVT blower. I've had this on for 1 year now. Awesome. I got a full video review on this. If you guys are interested, you can check out, I'll throw a link down below. But after 1 year, this is still a great purchase, guys. Keeps those CVT belt temps down. Anything below 5,000 RPM, this is going to outperform the mechanical clutch. And making sure, after a hard run, it's running. Make sure to get those belt temps down. No complaints. I'm really happy that I had that. So the next one that I want to talk about is a few tools that you're going to need. One of the tools you're going to need is a primary clutch puller. This happens to be an EPI puller. For the 900 and 1000s, you're going to need part number PCP-8. I actually, let's see if we can fit it in there. Hard to see with a little bit of a reflection, but I got that from my local Polaris dealer. He actually recommended it. Now, when you're going to come to buying pullers, make sure that you get a heat treated one and you pay the extra money. Don't get the ones that are just regular mild steel that are black. You're going to end up either ruining the threads on your crank or it's going to end up bending. So make sure you get a nice heat treated unit like this. There's a lot of places that have them available. The other one I recommend is a caliper gauge, digital gauge. This is to measure your belt, measure your service parameters, or your service life on some of your components in your clutching. And a 3/8 torque wrench will come in handy anytime that you're dealing with the smaller bolts and you need to torque them to spec. That's a huge advantage. The other one I have available is OTC. It's part number 4991, and this is a clutch compressor tool. Now you don't have to buy this one. It's a little bit expensive, but it works on the primary and the secondary. There's lots of tools out there. You can even make you can make a homemade one if you want. So the next modification that we're going to talk about came from a guy named Todd at Hunterworks. He had some issues with people blowing belts, and looking into it, he decided to do some testing on his own as well and find out when he was wide open throttle and high gear, the belt temps were just skyrocketing. So he started to do some investigations, and what he found is that the primary was actually closing up too much and riding the belt too far down on the secondary, where the cogs were actually starting to hit the bottom of the secondary. Of course, this was causing a loss of traction or a loss of belt grip. Temps would come up, and this is probably a good reason why people were actually losing belts, and in some cases they're running Gates belts. He's saying we're actually losing the cogs, the inside cogs, off the belt. So what Todd has come up with and told us to do is basically I'm going to call this a primary clutch stroke limiter modification, because this is basically what you're doing. You're limiting how much the primary can actually close up, and it's putting a second blue washer inside your primary to keep it from closing up too far, where it's pushing the belt too far down in the secondary. And he's done testing and he says this works great, but you need 2 blue washers in your primary clutch. So that's what we're going to do today. I can tell you for sure that this is happening. I'll bring my secondary into you guys, and maybe I can try to show you guys on camera, but you can actually see that there's rubber marks in there where that belt has been touching. Clearly can see that it's been touching the bottom of the secondary. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to get this clutch on the compressor, and we'll go through what it takes to actually swap this little blue washer into the primary. For those wondering, it's part number 5438963, and I'll just show you guys that here. I think Canadian, I paid like $6 at my Polaris dealer and even had it in stock, so bonus. So yeah, we'll get this on the compressor, and we'll start zipping it away, get it off here, and show you what it is to actually change this. It's super simple, but I figure, hey, while we're talking about recommendations on what you need to do to improve reliability on your clutch, let's go ahead and do this since I haven't done it. All right, so here we are back, guys. So I've got my clutch compressor tool set up and putting pressure on the top plate of the primary. It's because it has a spring underneath here, your primary spring, and it has pressure to want to pop off. So you want to use your compressor to keep force down as you remove your 6 retaining bolts. So we're going to go ahead and we'll zip off these 6 retaining bolts. I've just cracked them loose, so we'll go ahead and make this a little bit quicker. I like to crack them loose by hand first before I use a power tool. You don't have to, you guys will do whatever way that you want to do. And I'm by no means a mechanic, but that's just the way I do things. All right, pressure down here. You guys could see what would happen if you didn't have the clutch compressor tool. It would just jump at you. So it is good to have that on there. You don't have to, but it helps. There we go. So we'll go ahead and we'll select this off. The other thing too that you guys want to make sure is that you've marked your top plate to the outside sheave, just to make sure that you put it back in the same position. So make sure that you've marked one of your spots here. All right, so we'll go ahead, took spring compressor off. As you can see, the top plate is ready to come off. So we'll remove the top plate. Once again, make sure that you've marked your spider, your outside sheave, and your top plate so you know how it goes back on. That's really important. And then from there, we'll take this primary spring off. And as you can see, you can already see your spacer right here. They've already have one from the factory, or should have one from the factory. Todd was talking about some don't even have any, so you might have to put two on here. But I have one. So I'm going to go ahead, we'll open the package up and stick the second one on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead just with a little bit of brake cleaner and just clean the one that's there right now before I put the other one on top. By the way, it's brake cleaner and electronic cleaner, so I'm not worried about it on the plastic spacer. There we go. So we'll go ahead, we'll stick the second one on. It is a very, very tight fit. So there we go. So we got two spacers on there now. We can go ahead and put our primary spring back. And then we can go ahead and put our top plate. Just a reminder, there's a slot that primary spring sets in. Make sure we line our X's up, and we can go ahead and start spinning this down and getting this bolted back up. All right, guys, this is where, you know, where your primary clutch compressor, your secondary clutch compressor, your OTC tool that I showed you earlier is really going to come in handy, especially pulling this thing off. The RZR to do this, as you can see, makes it much easier. Would be much harder to try to do this off the machine. So, or sorry, on the machine, I should say. So loosen this up a bit. We'll go ahead and we'll finger tighten all our bolts down. I'm not going to use an impact gun, impact wrench for this. We're going to do this by hand. And before I release the tension on the actual primary, I'm just going to make sure that they are at least just finger tight snug. I've seen people break the bolts off in here before, so this is something you guys want to take your time for. Don't be in a rush. This would not be good having to break a bolt off, one of these retaining bolts off. So just an FYI out there. Alright guys, so we're back. So remove the clutch holding tool, picked up a smaller torque wrench because this is 9 foot-pounds of torque or 12 Newton meters. Somewhere in the range of 105 to 110 inch foot-pounds. So not a lot of force, but we also don't want to break them. I'm going to do this in a star pattern. There we go. Offset pattern, I guess I should say. Now we'll go back around. We'll make sure they're all good. Alright guys, so I hope this was helpful. You know, we went through and did the primary clutch stroke limiter modification with that extra washer, having 2 washers, to make sure we're not pulling the belt too far down into secondary. So this should make sure that we're not going to burn through a belt. Or tear the cogs off, or you know, some of the things I've been hearing that's been going on. So I want to say thanks to Todd at Hunterworks for showing us that. Definitely a really cheap and quick modification. be able to do. I also hope that you know, the rollers, the blower, and talking about the belts, hopefully I've given you guys a little bit of information on what you can do. We haven't even gotten to clutch kits, and this is not going to be a video for clutch kits, but I just want to give you guys the basics of things that you should be doing and some of the tools that you might need. So I hope you guys found this is helpful. I'm going to have some more videos coming out, some more how-to videos this spring as we continue more work on this razor. So definitely stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Always appreciate it. And we'll look forward to seeing you on another video. Thanks, guys.